Imagine walking into a luxurious hotel only to be told you don't belong, simply because of your skin color. What would you do if fame, success, and respect still couldn't shield you from racism? Today, we uncover The Rock's shocking encounter that sparked a powerful fight for justice and equality. This isn't just a story, it's a wake-up call for all of us. Stay tuned. The story begins in one of the most prestigious hotels in the U.S., a place where wealth and status are supposed to command respect. On this day, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, a global icon, actor, and former wrestling champion, walks through the doors. Despite his fame, The Rock carries himself with humility. He's polite to the staff, greeting them with a smile as he approaches the dining area. But instead of being welcomed, he's met with cold stares and hushed whispers. The atmosphere shifts. The Rock senses something is off. Moments later, a waiter approaches him, not with a menu, but with words that sting like a slap. "We don't serve people like you here." The Rock is stunned. In a world where he's admired by millions, how could he face such blatant disrespect? What unfolds next will leave you speechless. This isn't just a fight for dignity, it's a fight for equality. The hotel was nothing short of breathtaking, a lavish marble lobby with sparkling chandeliers, polished floors, and soft classical music humming in the background. The air was thick with an air of exclusivity, a place designed for the elite. Yet, beneath all the grandeur, there was an unspoken undercurrent, a quiet but palpable sense of prejudice. When The Rock walked in, his towering presence immediately turned heads. Despite being one of the most recognized faces in the world, he carried himself with humility, greeting staff and guests alike with a polite nod and a warm smile. For him, this was just another day, a break between projects, a moment to enjoy a meal and unwind. As he approached the dining area, the elegant decor couldn't hide the coldness of the staff's demeanor. It was subtle at first, sidelong glances, hushed whispers, and a lack of the warm welcome one might expect in such a place. But The Rock remained unfazed. He asked to be seated and thanked the staff politely. Enter the waiter, a middle-aged man with a sharp suit and an even sharper attitude. From the moment he laid eyes on The Rock, his disapproval was evident. With an air of arrogance, he approached the table, barely making eye contact. The Rock placed his order with his signature politeness, but the response was chilling. The waiter scoffed, took a step back, and said in a tone dripping with disdain, "We don't serve people like you here." For a moment, the air seemed to freeze. The Rock looked up, his face calm but his eyes betraying the flicker of disbelief. Was this really happening? In a hotel so luxurious, so outwardly refined, could such blatant disrespect exist? The waiter's words hung in the air, as sharp and cutting as a blade. "We don't serve people like you," he repeated, louder this time, his tone laced with disdain. Other diners turned their heads, some in shock, others feigning indifference. The Rock, ever composed, leaned forward slightly and asked in a steady voice, "Excuse me? What do you mean by that?" The waiter's smirk widened. "I think you know exactly what I mean," he said, folding his arms. Then, with a condescending tone, he added, "This establishment has standards. Maybe you'd be more comfortable somewhere else." The insult was as blatant as it was cruel. For a moment, The Rock sat in silence, his jaw tightening, his hands folded on the table. The weight of the insult wasn't just personal, it was a reminder of the countless times others had faced the same prejudice, often without the means or the voice to fight back. Still, The Rock chose calm over confrontation. "I'm a paying customer," he said firmly. "I came here to enjoy a meal like anyone else. Is that going to be a problem?" But the waiter wasn't backing down. He glanced around, seeking reinforcement, and soon other staff members began to gather. Instead of de-escalating the situation, they sided with the waiter, their body language and whispered remarks making it clear where their loyalties lay. One of the staff members stepped forward, shaking his head. "Look, this isn't about you personally," he said, though his words dripped with insincerity. "It's just, people like you don't really fit the image of our clientele." The Rock's heart sank, but he refused to let his frustration show. He took a deep breath and stood up, towering over the staff who now surrounded him. His voice was calm but resolute. This isn't just about me. It's about what's right. You're judging me based on the color of my skin, not the content of my character. His words seemed to strike a nerve with a few onlookers who shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Yet the staff remained unmoved, their stance firm. The Rock realized he wasn't just fighting for a meal, he was standing up against an ingrained culture of prejudice. With a dignified nod, he said, "Thank you for making it clear where you stand. But this isn't over." And with that, he walked out, his head held high, leaving the staff and diners behind to wrestle with the weight of what had just unfolded. The Rock, standing tall and unyielding, locked eyes with the waiter. His voice, calm but firm, cut through the room's tense silence. "I'm not leaving until I'm treated with the same respect as any other guest here." His refusal to back down sent a ripple through the dining hall. Some diners shifted uncomfortably in their seats, while others openly stared, captivated by the unfolding confrontation. The staff quickly huddled together, whispering in hushed tones. Moments later, a manager emerged, his expression one of forced politeness masking irritation. "Sir, we reserve the right to refuse service," he began, his tone patronizing. The Rock met his gaze without flinching. "Refusing service because of the color of my skin is not just wrong, it's illegal," he replied. The tension escalated further when the manager gestured for security. Two uniformed guards approached, their presence a clear message. "Please leave the premises, or we'll have to escort you out," one of them said, his voice low and authoritative. By now, murmurs had grown louder, and a few patrons had begun filming the scene on their phones. Among them was a young woman sitting near the back. With shaky hands, she started recording, her heart racing as she captured every word. "I've done nothing wrong," The Rock said, his tone unwavering. "You're throwing me out because of prejudice, and I won't let this slide." The guards hesitated, clearly uneasy about physically removing someone as imposing as The Rock. But as they inched closer, he raised his hand, signaling them to stop. "Go ahead," he said. "Remove me. But know that the world will see this for what it is." Within hours, the young woman's video was uploaded online with the caption, "The Rock faces blatant racism at luxury hotel." It spread like wildfire, racking up millions of views. Social media platforms exploded with outrage. Tweets poured in. "Unbelievable. Even The Rock isn't immune to racism. This has to stop. Boycott this hotel until they apologize and change their policies. Standing with The Rock. Racism has no place anywhere." The incident quickly became a trending topic. News outlets picked up the story, airing clips of the video and inviting commentators to discuss the pervasive issue of racism in high-end establishments. As the outrage grew, The Rock decided to take the next step. Sitting in his home, he stared at his phone, scrolling through messages of support and solidarity. Finally, he called his lawyer. "I want to file a lawsuit," he said. "This isn't just about me. It's about making sure this doesn't happen to anyone else." The lawsuit against the hotel was officially filed, and with it came a promise: The Rock wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for every person who had been humiliated, dismissed, or dehumanized because of the color of their skin. The courtroom was packed on the first day of the trial. Cameras lined the hallways, reporters jostling for position as protesters chanted outside, holding signs that read, "Justice for The Rock," and "End Racism Now." The case had become a national spectacle, with the entire country waiting to see how it would unfold. Inside, The Rock sat at the plaintiff's table, his expression composed but resolute. His lawyer, a seasoned civil rights attorney, laid out the case with precision. "This isn't just about one man's experience," she told the jury. "It's about systemic prejudice and the need to hold those in power accountable." When The Rock took the stand, the room fell silent. He recounted the incident with a quiet intensity, his words carrying the weight of years of resilience. "I've faced prejudice before," he said. "But this time, I had to take a stand. Not for myself, but for every person who's ever been told they don't belong." His testimony was powerful, painting a vivid picture of the humiliation and hurt he endured. He spoke of his deep respect for equality and his belief in using his platform to bring about change. By the time he stepped down, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. The hotel's defense, by contrast, was weak and unconvincing. Their lawyer argued that the incident was a misunderstanding, claiming the staff had acted out of policy rather than prejudice. But their explanations crumbled under scrutiny. The waiter, now visibly nervous, admitted under cross-examination that he had made remarks about The Rock's race. The manager's testimony didn't help either, as it became clear that the hotel had a history of discriminatory practices. Meanwhile, the media coverage was relentless. Every major network carried updates on the trial, with commentators dissecting each testimony. Public support for The Rock continued to grow, with hashtags like #JusticeForTheRock and #EndRacism dominating social media. Outside the courthouse, protesters gathered daily, their chants echoing through the streets. Activists, celebrities, and everyday citizens rallied behind The Rock, turning the case into a broader movement for equality. As the trial drew to a close, the tension in the courtroom was palpable. The jury deliberated, and the world held its breath, waiting for the judge to deliver the verdict. The question on everyone's mind was clear: would justice prevail? The courtroom was silent as the judge entered, his expression stern and resolute. The Rock sat at the plaintiff's table, his posture strong yet calm, while the hotel's management looked visibly anxious. The room was thick with anticipation, every eye fixed on the judge as he prepared to deliver his ruling. In a measured voice, the judge began. This case is not just about a single incident. It's about the values we hold as a society. The evidence presented clearly shows that the actions of the hotel staff were rooted in racial discrimination. Such behavior has no place in our community or anywhere else. A wave of murmurs swept through the audience. The judge's words carried the weight of justice, and it was clear he was sending a strong message. The judge continued, "I hereby declare the hotel management and staff guilty of racial discrimination against Mr. Johnson, better known to the world as The Rock. I order the hotel to issue a public apology and pay a substantial fine, which will be donated to organizations fighting for racial equality." Gasps filled the courtroom, followed by whispers of approval and quiet cheers from The Rock's supporters. The hotel's legal team looked visibly shaken, while the waiter sat with his head lowered, avoiding eye contact with anyone. But the focus quickly shifted to The Rock. Despite the victory, he remained composed, his expression calm but firm. He stood to address the court. "This isn't just about me," he began. "It's about standing up against hate and ensuring that no one else has to face this kind of humiliation." His words resonated deeply, drawing nods from those in attendance. He thanked his legal team, supporters, and everyone who stood by him during the ordeal. His ability to stay dignified, even in the face of injustice, was a testament to his character. Outside the courthouse, crowds erupted into cheers as the news broke. Protesters hugged each other, chanting slogans of unity and equality. The world watched as justice had been served, and The Rock's victory became a symbol of hope for many. Days later, the hotel management held a press conference to deliver their public apology. Cameras flashed as the manager, flanked by other senior staff, nervously stepped up to the podium. Their expressions were strained, and their words initially felt rehearsed. "We deeply regret the events that took place in our establishment," the manager began. "Our actions were unacceptable and do not reflect the values we wish to uphold. We sincerely apologize to Mr. Johnson and to everyone we have offended. We are committed to making meaningful changes to ensure this never happens again." As the apology continued, the tone shifted. The weight of public backlash and the gravity of their actions seemed to sink in. The manager's voice softened, and for the first time, there was a sense of genuine remorse. "This has been a hard lesson for all of us," he concluded. "We promise to do better and be better." The Rock was watching the apology from home. Later, he addressed the media with his own statement. "Forgiveness is key," he said. "But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. We must continue to challenge injustice wherever we see it. Equality isn't just a goal, it's a responsibility." His words were shared widely, serving as a reminder that while this battle was won, the fight for equality was far from over. In this story, we witness how the Rock, a symbol of strength and determination, rises above prejudice and adversity. The lesson here is clear: racism has no place in our society. No one should ever be judged by the color of their skin or their background. It's crucial to recognize that everyone deserves respect, regardless of their race, status, or any other factor that might divide us. The Rock's victory is not just personal. It symbolizes something much larger than his journey. It is a victory for all of us in the fight against discrimination. When individuals like The Rock stand up, they pave the way for change and inspire us all to take a stand for equality. His actions remind us that true strength isn't about physical power, it's about having the courage to do what's right, even when it's difficult. This isn't just The Rock's victory. It's a step forward for all of us in the fight against prejudice. It shows that we all have a role to play in making the world a better, more inclusive place. Together, we can stand against racism and work towards a society where respect and understanding are the norms, not the exceptions. The message here is simple, but powerful. We are all equal, and we must respect each other for who we are, not what we appear to be. Now that you've heard this story, we want to hear from you. What would you have done in The Rock's place? Would you have stood up against racism as he did? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters, and your perspective could inspire others to take action. If you believe in equality, respect, and a world where we treat each other with dignity, share this story with your friends. By spreading this message, we can help to create a ripple effect, inspiring more people to stand up against prejudice. Together, we can build a community where everyone feels valued, regardless of their background. Let's continue to share stories like this, challenge discrimination, and work towards a world where respect for all is the foundation of everything we do. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Your engagement can make a difference in the fight for equality.